Welcome to Dance Pod with Skånes Dansteater, a podcast brought to you by Sweden's largest independent dance institution. Your chance to hear from dance artists, engage with movement, and delve deeper into our creative process.
Hello and welcome to Skånes Dansteater's live pod. I'm Celine and I'm working here at Skånes Dansteater with a project Maintaining Movement, Bevara rörelse in Swedish. And today you'll hear me and Tiemen talk with the choreographers and dancers Danae Dionysios and Dionysios Alamanos. Welcome. And welcome everybody who's listening.
Yes, my name is Tiemen and I'm a dancer here at Skånes Dansteater. And I am part of the team that is currently working on the new creation that Danae and Dionysios are making called In Wind or Dust. In Wind or Dust is a dreamlike experience where 6 of us are going to go through poetic images and create animals and sword-like creatures. That is based on the poetry of Kawa Nyanji, who is also an environmental activist.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and we will talk more in a bit about.
Yes, we will.
We will dive more into the piece in a bit. First, I want to introduce you all to Danae and Dionysios, and they are a choreographic duo from Greek, Athens. And they are the artistic directors of Small Axe Dance Company. Their choreographic journey started 2018 and includes collaborations with theaters and organizations like Theater Rotterdam, Stadstheater Braunschweig, and Onassis Foundation. Individually, they have danced for companies and choreographers such as Sweden Malta National Dance Company, Akram Khan Company, the Hellenic Dance Company, and Theater and others. And together they have created 7 pieces. Some of them have been touring internationally. Their first production, Unsia, is that how you pronounce it?
Yes.
Yeah, has been performed in more than 55 times and in 11 countries and has received 8 awards around Europe. So first, before we dive into the piece, we want to talk a little bit about your background and what led you. What's your journey into dance?
Well, hello again from us as well. As you said, my name is Danae, and I started dancing when I was around 14, so not very young, and I'm coming from a sports background. So I was a very different person from what I am now. I was training in water polo, and so my body had evolved into being a sports body. And then for many reasons I decided to stop, and I said, okay, what is the opposite of what I'm doing now? I was looking for the opposite, and I thought maybe that's dance, because the image I had in my mind was something graceful, something very different from what I was doing at that time. And that is the reason why I started dancing when I was a teenager. Later on, I studied at the State School of Dance, and this is where I met Dionysios, and then we started collaborating and working together.
So you've known each other for a very long time.
Yeah.
Yes.
And what about you?
Well, good evening also from me. Many thanks for inviting us to this conversation.
Yeah, thank you.
And many thanks also to the viewers watching. And also for me, at a very young age, it was clear for me that I was interested into moving the body. It was sports, maybe martial arts, dance, but I think later on in my life I found out that dancing, it's something that really makes me happy. So I found slowly where is the neighborhood studio to go and practice a little bit and develop my skills. Then I wanted to be one of the dancers of Michael Jackson. That was one of my first dreams. And I said, okay, I have to be really good, develop my technique, develop my style. And then I was watching all the videos of Michael Jackson, and I see the dancers doing ballet technique. So I said, okay, I have to do it at that time, So then I started to think of how I can develop more my technique and my education, not only dancing in the studio or in my bedroom, but finding a proper place to study. And then this is where I left my home, where I come from an island in Greece, and went to Athens to study in the State School of Athens in Greece. And everything carried on from then on.
Yeah, okay. And you've been collaborating for 6 years now together, or something like that?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
We met back in 2013.
Yeah.
And we've been collaborating like since 2017, I think. Yeah.
And how come you started to collaborate together?
Well, when we graduated, we started working for other companies, so we were traveling quite a lot. And it happened that we couldn't meet as well. So there was one period that maybe we hadn't met for 7 months. And we said, okay, we need to rearrange a bit our lives, And choreography came rather randomly. But it came at a moment that we were looking for a solution. And this became like our solution, our way to express ourselves together. And we grasped that opportunity.
So you are also a couple. And how is it to work together as a couple and in a choreographic duo like this? And how is your roles in that? And how does the collaboration look like?
Well, now it has been a few years, so we kind of like at this moment we know a little bit better how to work in the studio, how to do our homework, And in some places I need more help, and some other places I can help more than I. But in the beginning, it starts in a natural way. You try to find your weaknesses. Trying to find your strong parts. And but I think it was the passion of creating something, and I think we both enjoyed the moment in the studio, tried to create something and exploring it. And step by step, work after work, we find also which places we can be better and try to develop them. But of course, it needs time. And as we move on, and now being here, we also try to challenge the way that we work together. Yes.
So how do you challenge that?
Well,
then I know.
Okay, tell us.
Well, usually what happens is Dionysios is much more creative, so he can think of many different ideas, and this puts a lot of challenges. Okay, how do we make this happen? And this is where I step in most of the times. Like, how can I channel that idea and can make it like a practical reality? So this is usually the dynamic between the two of us. And now here we try to shift a bit also these roles. So it's not always one recommending and the other one proposing solutions, but we try a bit to play and jump from in and out.
You're actively challenging that a little bit, the roles that you naturally feel.
Yeah, I think we owe to do it. When it gets comfortable, this is the moment that for us, like, we always feel, okay, now we need to push ourselves somewhere else.
Yeah. I think it's interesting. It sounds like you're working on the collaboration and on how to be a team, and especially if are artists, you have strong ideas and what do you want to go, and sometimes maybe you want to realize your own ideas and how to do that together with someone, and if it works, it's beautiful, and you can be so strong together, and yeah. What I've seen in the studio, I think it looks like you're very balanced when you are working together.
Yeah.
But maybe that's not. but I've only seen like two rehearsal moments.
There is also a responsibility, when you have other people there. Of course, we challenge each other, but when you have a team in front of you, you are responsible also for what you are creating in the studio. So it's these little shifts, that they have to happen in the moment, Yes, when it's the two of us, things can be different. We need to take care of ourselves, and we know our boundaries. But when we have a group of people who are there to serve a purpose as well, like us, then we need to take them into consideration as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, to be responsible about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you were saying, Danae, that you were coming from this sports background and wanted to do something completely different.
Yeah.
And you, Dionysios, you saw Michael Jackson and,
Yes,
and
yes.
you wanted you were drawn into dance.
Yes.
So what is it with dance that drives you? What do you want to reach through dance? And is that a big question?
Well, it becomes more of a big question the more I grow up. Because the more I grow up, the more questions I make about life. It's not like that when I was younger. When I was younger, it was more simple. I put music, I dance, I really enjoyed it, I'm happy. I don't
It's
question it
easy.
so much.
Yeah.
But the more...
Good times.
Yeah. But the more I move into life, I... dance and, some choices of life, let's say, become a tool to help me go a little bit more front, but also become a heavy weight. So dance at this moment, it's both, I would say. It's the thing that I have like a, let's say, my special tool. Like I have sharpened it, I have learned how to use it, and I feel like responsible of using it now that I have it. And also, sometimes I feel like, I don't want to have it anymore on my hand. I don't want to have it no more on my back. I want to let go a little bit more free, to stay a little bit more free, to take a breath. And it's always into these sides, once on the other, one to the other. But I try to stay in the middle. Try to be free, but also use this art, which is dance, and share it with people and create interesting journeys, interesting memories
Yeah.
for me and for the audience who watches.
Yeah. What about you, Danae?
Well, for me, what amazes me is that the body cannot hide its intentions, and in dance, that's also very beautiful. You see a body, and like I adore when I can understand the body's intentions and how can I make this now? How can I manipulate that? And that's the beauty of it. There is not an extra tool that I need to sharpen on top of that. It's just me understanding how this intention can serve a purpose, and that's why I love dance so much. Like it cannot be dishonest.
Yeah.
Somehow.
And can you see like a thread of inspirations throughout the years that you have been working together? Like what are you inspired by, and in what realms are you moving when you create your pieces?
Yeah.
Well, for us, it's always been something that includes something natural inside. It can be other artists as well. Like we've been talking in this production a lot about Hayao Miyazaki. And like the way this director, like it's a completely different genre, no? It's Japanese animation. But the way this person manipulates his tools, for us it's like amazing. And the symbolisms that there are. And it can be that, it can be something to something that maybe it sounds like a bit cliche, like the movement of nature as well, like how everything moves and how everything affects each other. So most of the times we are drawn into it's a big spectrum and a big theme to talk about nature, but something there. It can be from other artists, other people, but also nature itself.
Yeah. And I've also read a little bit, since now in Wind or Dust is based on poetry, and also some previous pieces that you've been working with also. What is it with poetry and dance that interests you, or the combination?
Yeah. So we kind of like put together the path of, let's say, the dance and choreography together with our personal lives. And we don't see it separate. We don't feel like it can be separated. And we've been reading some poetry, and it really felt moving our hearts, let's say, our chest, and we kind of like very well connected to this kind of poetry that it comes from Tibetan poetry. It said a lot to us, and that was on the side, and it came the opportunity to come here and work and choreograph, and then we said, okay, then what we do? Because then it's like you're putting your hand into into a fishbowl with options, and then I think the first thing that you will pick up is the closest thing to your heart, and the closest thing it was the poetry. So we said, okay, what really moves us now is this poetry, so it has to be this because it's a nice source of energy, source of inspiration. So we say it's gonna be this. And like we've been talking many times, many opportunities can be a problem, many options in life, when you have like unlimited options. But having just that option, it feels like, okay, this will stream us, that will give us the path. And slowly we constructed all the ideas around this poetry. And Kawan Yangji, specifically the poet that we chose, that has a very interesting life, but also his poetry is very, very beautiful. And we constructed all those ideas around there.
Yeah, because I was actually curious about that. If you came across his poetry before you knew that you were going to make this piece, but now that you've been choreographing more, also, is it then that you approach this poetry already a little bit with a choreographic mind? Do you notice yourself doing that, or was it really the moment that you felt like, oh, we need something to create, that then like this poetry could connect to, okay, maybe it can give us inspiration for a piece?
I think we didn't, like when we read something, we don't think about it directly, into the work.
It starts to create images.
Yes,
and,
yes.
Yeah, no.
I think it's nice to give it space to let you understand what it is for you as well.
Yeah.
And it just happened that with this specific poet, we felt really connected, and the way he portrays and he uses all these images, it just gave us a lot of inspiration. But when we first started reading it, it was just a matter of, our souls were traveling with his work. So it's nice, I think, and it's a bit fair to say that we have to give time to things, to allow them to reveal themselves to us. So yeah, no, I don't see something and I say, okay, how can I can use that.
Yeah.
I just let it be, and I see if it's something that I can use later.
Nice.
Maybe we should hear the poem for In Wind or Dust. Would you like to read it so we can?
We'd love to read it.
The feeling
Give
that
a little bit of
you're
sense
talking
of-
about.
Yes.
We want to get.
Actually have it right
Get
here in
pushed.
front of me.
Oh, how
And,
did it happen?
What a coincidence!
Like we have a lot of poems that we drew inspiration from and images, but this one is the one that is really took our hearts, So if one day I fade out, not saying a goodbye, with half joy, half bitterness, catching a bus going any direction or getting off halfway, wayward with the wind, forgive me and my restless soul. If one day I knock on your dream at the break of dawn or deep in the quiet night, do not reject me or push me out the door. Do not call me a stranger. I've climbed over mountains and mountains just to take a glance at you in wind or dust. Yes.
Nice.
Could you take us back to the moment, the first time you read this, and kind of what it did to you?
Well, for me, like this, it's this, like, it's a few lines that I read that really touched me. It's this line that says, "Forgive me and my restless soul," and it's the other line that says, "I've climbed over mountains and mountains just to take a glance at you." So it's this feeling of a person that could go through many things for something very simple, but this very simple thing can give them a lot of satisfaction. And I think I try myself to find that magic, that magic in very simple things as well. So this is the moment that I felt, this is something I relate to, you know, because I try to keep myself almost like a child, like almost exploring all the time, and then the difficulties, they don't matter, because you arrive somewhere every day, because your goals are not super far away. It's just something very simple thing that can make you happy, and then. Yes, then you can climb mountains and mountains for it, you know. It doesn't matter anymore. So yeah, these were the lines that I felt like, this is something here.
Yeah.
Is that something that you want to transmit into the piece as well? This feeling of this the big in the small, or the big in the simple things, or
Well, this is also something like we go more into methodology. I think that when you read, for example, something many times, even if you don't specifically aim for it, it finds its way into the piece.
yeah.
So we haven't worked yet on this poem. We are aiming to work on it for the final scene, let's say, of the piece. So we haven't touched it yet. But I also think, you know, we were discussing before, you know, every piece is not a different piece for us. It's the same choreography, it's the same piece. But we change, so the pieces change. And this is like the same thing that happens also when you read. I read something again and again, and even if I don't purposely put it in the work, it's there. And I believe that, with all my heart, that
It becomes a part of you, and therefore when you then share and create something, that little part will be there as well.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very beautiful.
And I like that image that you create the same piece over and over again, but it's always different because you are changing all the time. So it's always something new, but from the same source somehow. Or cool.
I thought maybe I could quote a little bit from our website. In Winter Dust is a poetic journey in the footsteps of an artist who devoted his life to observing nature and its being in the midst of time. Well, this artist in question is this poet, Kava Nyanji. Maybe it would just be nice to know how you came across his work.
You wanna go?
I can go, of course. You know, I think, well, we were on our the usual bookstore that we go around. The titles
Athens.
in Athens, yes, in Athens, Greece, and it came to your attention. This book. It's called "Burning the Sun's Braids." No.
Yeah.
Burning the Sun's Braids. It's Tibetan poetry. And many poets, selections from many poets, and one of them, it was Kawa Nyangji. And I can say easily that all of those, all the poetry inside that book, it was lovely. It was very interesting, you know. And the way they've written it, it felt like so nice to see this way of art. So nice to see this way of communicating something, because we also felt like it was close to dance. It was trying to say something to you, but not in a literal way, creating a magical word, and I will say something to you through that magical word, which also give a nice space for each of us to interpret it in a different way. We talk about the yaks, we talk about the wind, about the water, the grass, the people who work on it. And then you think, oh, the yak, but maybe somebody else is thinking a strong person, a person that fights, a person that is connected to the roots, but doesn't want to be modern anymore. So it's a lot of space there to interpret it. Anyway, we found it, and so it was, we read something, and then it really felt close. Okay, what is this? What is this? Winter Dust, you know? Let's search of this person, Kawa Nyangji. Okay, and it's always nice to search the poet through the internet, and even have the image, you know. It's nice to have the image,
Get a face
where it comes from, the age, this and that. And we came across to the biography of Kawa Nyangji, which we found some things that make us happy and made us sad also. because Kawa was also an environmental activist, and what he was trying it was that he was trying to save, let's say, an endangered species of fish.
Yeah.
And he was working in a lake, on a lake Qinghai.
Yeah.
And unfortunately he was entangled in the nets while trying to take out the fish nets to save the fish, and he drowned. And really, these things, of course, like you feel like a fellow artist, so young. He was the same age as me, and I felt like it happened to me in a way. It felt like it was another me and happened to the other me, let's say. So it was this situation was very strong, and that's why also we digged a little bit more deeper into Kawa's, specifically Kawa's, because also the other poets are lovely and very interesting, very good poetry. But we say, okay, it was something, and I written something else also to share it with you and to share it also, like a little something, little words that I was saying to Danae. This is what it is, and it's very simple. It says, when one loses their freedom, the rest of us who live in some kind of freedom, the least we can do is to read what they have written, having their names in our lips. And I really felt this, to that at least we stay behind, we have our freedom, the other people was there trying, to make a better place for us or for new generations, and this is like one thing that I carry in my mind. Like carry the words, carry the name on my lips, bring it into the work, share it with other people,
So it feels, I don't know, does it feel a bit like honoring him a little bit as well?
Yes.
Or at least to keep his legacy vibrant and alive. I think
We like to think of it that way.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, he has created so many interesting worlds, and they gave us inspiration to create our own.
Yeah.
So yes, it is honoring him in a way.
Yes. You know what I want to do with In Wind or Dust is to send him a love letter. Yes. It's not to repeat what he said. It's to make a love letter, like he was my friend and I saw his work, and from the collage of his work, make a collage of his work and send him a love letter back to him. This is the way I see the work so far. And I know later on, of course, like as performers, we know that the work transforms when you perform it, and it takes a different shape also. And maybe give me another feeling as well. But for now, I'm staying with this.
It's a beautiful gift.
Yes.
Yeah.
Must have been quite a wonderful experience to somehow get so close to someone, also through their art and through their. But it really feels like you're, a little bit identifying, but also like you really step into someone's world. And then kind of transform it a little bit into your own world as well. And I was a bit curious to maybe talk a little bit about that process, because right now in the studio you have selected 13 poems from Kawa, which are kind of like form the base of inspiration for the piece, as I understood.
Yeah.
And well, maybe I can share that. For us, you kind of matched those poems with images that you found, and together we look at those, we see what the poem tells us, we look at the image, and this forms a little bit of a nest for a creative, for a scene.
Yeah.
And I was maybe curious, how is this the first time you approach it like this? Is this something new, or just in general, how do you go about the process of translating this poem into your choreographic world?
So yeah, it's the first time that we work like that. So as you said, we selected the 13 poems, and then we matched them with the pictures that they help us visually. And what we have been doing for now is, of course, first we went through them with you all, and then we started talking about each one of them. Okay, what do we get from this one? What feeling do we get? And what we are going to do is to make a collage of them. So dramaturgically is not going to be like a story, but all these poems like next to each other. And what we try to do is to focus on some specific words. At least this is the way that the two of us, even if it's not very conscious for the group yet, we hang from some words, and then we see what these words initiate physically or dramaturgically for that specific scene. So, for example, we've been working on a duet, and Tiemen is performing this duet, and there is this line that says, "I hugged you heartbreakingly." So, on that line, for example, when we think of a hug, I think of something very caring, something very loving. But the word heartbreakingly also proposes something more muscular, something maybe sometimes that it can transform into something more violent. So we started thinking and playing a bit with this idea of a hug. How can a hug can transform from something very loving to something probably much more violent? So this is like one example of how we translate these poems into movement. I don't think that we can take a whole poem. Like, I think we have to grasp from some things, like words that click us, or a meaning that maybe we already have an image for. But we need to reduce that material and then open it up again. So that's more or less the process.
And then you have some characters as well. Like how did the characters came into the picture in the process, and what inspired these characters?
So yes, again, reading those poems that we have selected gave out those characters. You know, they were also reading texts that we could find in the web, in the internet, that coming out from comments or from, let's say, bigger text that Kawa have put in the internet, and we kind of like from there we grasped some of the fantastic words that he was creating in his mind. And again, like Danae is saying, is like we have also for practical reasons, we have to create some steps, you know. And one of those steps was the poems, another was the images, and then we have to somehow to be able to bring more layers and depth into what we will do in the stage and what every performer is working on. We said, okay, let's bring some of those images, some of these roles that we can read from the poems, and we took some of them. Some of them are magical beings, like gods or animals that they were in the nature of Tibet, and some of them were actual people, you know, people that Kawa's heart was happy about, and some of them not so happy. Yes, because it's nice to have also the
Anti-hero.
The anti-heroes and the contrast, let's say, to be able to play a little bit.
To build. Nice.
Yeah, because what is nice about his poetry is that a lot of it is also rather descriptive of like actual situations or memories or things that so there's often something quite concrete to like grab on, mixed with then this more metaphorical world around it. And if I can talk from my experience working with these characters, because I haven't done that so much in my career, it gives a very nice entry into the piece as well. Because, I mean, dramaturgically, of course, it helps to have a bit of a backstory. But it's also, there's something about the approach to what you're doing and how you can relate to others that it has a more deeper meaning. And I don't know if that was something that you've also intentionally thought of when proposing characters.
Sure.
No. I mean, we thought it would be interesting to experiment with it because it was also the first time for us. We haven't done that before, but yes, as we see, it's like it already proposes physicality. Having talked about these characters already, and also the costumes, they play a part of it as well. Like the colors we've chosen for each costume, they show us, they reveal to us a bit the age of the people. So also this gives us information for the physicality. So there are many layers, and then movement comes. And I hope that it comes a bit more naturally for you. You have a lot of information, and then you can just decide from that together. Like we can decide what is needed in each moment.
And we want to. This is an avatar, A character, a role is an avatar. Sometimes it's hard as a performer to enter the stage and just press a button and start performing whatever you have to perform. And we want to work in a way that we give this avatar to the performers, and that will be a place that they can go mentally, transform into that avatar and be able to engage more the role.
Yeah.
So, and hopefully we'll make it that for every performer it will be a good tool to use. Because I'm not Dionysios. I will be that character when I go into the role. So I can take my whatever happened before, I can change for that moment and experience my role. And ideally that will be a nice vehicle for a performer into that time.
Interesting. I'm curious.
We're working on it.
I'm curious to ask you,
Definitely.
Tiemen, if you feel your character.
I mean, I think right now we're halfway through the process. I think that's maybe interesting to mention as well. We've had 3.5 weeks now, and we kind of have 3.5, 4 weeks to go.
Yes.
So it definitely feels like the big brush is slowly being exchanged with a more smaller brush. But we're still working on, I mean, a lot of technical things as well. Though the question that you often propose after a bit of rehearsal is like, okay, how did that feel, and how was that for you? And I think for me it's still a challenge right now to go into those questions from the view of my character, because like I said, I haven't done this so much before. But I hope that once the piece is maybe a bit more set in its ways, that then there's also more sort of time to really start feeling the character. But we had a really fun couple of first days where we basically had the sketches of the costumes, which were designed by Marta Foucault.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we kind of just all together looked at them, and then just kind of went into our fantasies of who can this person be and what kind of character traits, and how we just kind of walked around for 10 minutes trying to walk like the person might walk, which was tough, to be honest, because it's hard to just walk as a person, but it was really fun.
But you have the costume. Is it different when you have the costume on to find the feeling?
It
the
helps.
character?
It definitely helps.
Yeah, can
It
imagine.
helps. And they're really nice costumes also. That also helps. But yeah. Another maybe interesting element is something that you spoke about with us in the beginning of the process, that these poets in Tibet also have to work with kind of a restrictive political landscape. So they're not completely free in what they can write. And this gives them the restrictions, and they have to work with metaphors and allegories. Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
And you mentioned that this working with restrictions is also something that like entices you or is interesting to you. And I was wondering if you could speak a bit about that, what that is.
Yeah, of course. I think having restrictions already directs you somehow. And as Dionysios said before, having too many options is also quite difficult sometimes. So, for example, here we have the restriction of space. Our stage will be a small one. It will be 5 times 6, more or less, so a bit smaller than that. And we are 7 people there. And already this directs the choreography somehow. And it gives us ideas. And for us restrictions, we don't think of them like in a negative way, but they propose creative solutions. So yeah, this is the way we, and also most of the times we put them ourselves. Like if it was a different production and we had like a huge space and this was never there, we would put something ourselves to restrict ourselves. Otherwise it can become very chaotic, it can become everything. So in our previous works, for example, the first work that you mentioned, the Uncia, it's a short one, it's a 10-minute work, but it just stays on the spot. And we are 10 minutes on our knees. So like we like restrictions, we put them for ourselves. And you know, we were thinking, okay, we cannot move in the space, or we just do not move in the space. How can we move the space? And then this becomes also like a nice question. How can my movement move the space? So yeah, if they're not there, we look for them.
I can imagine that like allowing restrictions to be there also kind of proposes new questions which you haven't otherwise thought of, or like and the solutions that you come up with are ones that are surprising for you as well.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And then also they don't need to be like, sometimes they can be rather random. Like okay, I choose not to move in the space. There is not a specific reason for it. It's just that okay, let's try it. You know, let's play with it. What happens there? Is there something interesting, something we can draw things from? And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Yep.
Yeah.
But I am also thinking the first part also of your question, because you said something about the poetry and the restrictions of the poets not being able to, and this is something that we, well, now with the social media and all this information being able to come to go around the world very easily, we see that this happens. You know, these restrictions in the arts can happen in many places in the world. For example, that you cannot express yourself as you want. You know, some for different reasons. But we have this quote in Greece. We say. I'll try to translate it nicely. They wanted to shut me down by burying me, but they didn't know I'm the seed.
They didn't know.
They didn't know I am the seed.
Ah, yeah.
So you will grow again.
So you will grow again.
That. Yeah.
So that's the nice
really
thing.
nice.
That's a nice thing about the art. You know, you can try to hide it, but you cannot hide it. You know, it will flourish.
It will flourish anyway.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful way of thinking of that.
Yeah.
And maybe it's nice to touch on a little other element of the space, which is the single piece of set design that we have. We had the luck to interact a little bit. Well, we saw it. They prepared kind of the stage, backstage for us. And it's a big underground root system, a bit seemingly wet and dark. And it kind of gives the sensation of being underground. Can you tell a little bit more about what this idea was?
Well, the set design...
Spoilers here. But you say.
Only share what you want.
I'll be very careful. So
you say.
The set designer's name is Efi Birba. She's a Greek director, and we were admiring her work for many, many years. And then the opportunity came, and we said, okay, we have to work with her, you know, and we were very lucky that she was available. We started going through Kawa's poetry, and then this idea came of creating a no space. So this is why we have a black box. So we don't really know where this space is. There is not a lot of elements, and then there is this very big, demanding the space, almost root system, as you say, and this puts us underground. And
it's hanging from the ceiling.
Yes.
It's very nice to mention for the image.
Yeah, it hangs from the ceiling, and I will not say more. It does other stuff too.
Okay.
But yeah, we were thinking that the world Kawa creates is full of contradictions many times. And when you think of underground, we were thinking of a grave. And when you think of a grave, you think of something that is dead, something that is not alive. But within that no space or the underground space that symbolizes death, everything comes to life. So all of his poetry comes to life. All these surrealistic images, they happen there. And we were very interested in this contradiction. So that's the idea behind the set.
Cool. Yeah.
Say no more. Come to watch it.
I mean, it's also very interesting because we had a choreographer who's actually now in the house, Anouk van Dijk, and when she made Out of the Blue with us some years ago, we worked a lot with creation myths. And we shared creation myths that were from our different cultures, and we realized that a lot of those, the creation myths, come from something from the ground. So it's always something that grows out of the ground, or is formed from earth, or is so there is something about this duality between putting death into the ground, but then that transforming also back into life, and that being the source of life. So it's
and for us, this becomes a bit more technical, but for us, this circularity is also our movement language, like this recycling of energy. That nothing gets thrown away, that everything is useful, and usually, most of the times, it comes from the ground. So from our contact to the ground, then everything comes up and then dies down again. But everything is useful. Nothing is ever thrown away. So that's this duality that you say, no? That everything
the cycle more that it's
Yeah, I can feel a contrast as well in the wet and dark feeling, and then the title In Wind or Dust it's something completely different than this, and that like the spectrum of everything that it can become in between there. Yeah. But Kawa was an activist and an art activist, and what are your thoughts on activism and art in relation to what you do as well?
Well, it is a conversation we've been having with Danae and also with fellow artists. And we have, let's say for now we have, consciously we know that what we are creating, what we want to create, we don't want it to, we're not facing it as an activism. What we are creating is a space to say a story, to share a story, to create a journey, for audience to have an experience, for the performers to have an experience, but we're not seeing it as an activism, because we feel let's say the concept of activism cannot, let's say, enter the way that at least we create now, and the way that we are looking at our works and facing our works so far. But having this conversation also, now we are talking about a person that was an activist, yes, and sharing the stories that this person was having, and one of our favorite directors, anime directors, Hayao Miyazaki. And this happened actually recently. I was here trying to see the latest movie in the cinema, The Boy and the Heron. And we went to the cinema, and I came back and I meet the artist and I say, I'm very sad. Why? They say to me, Dionysios, why you are very sad? I say, because last night I went, I saw the movie, and I returned home and I said, no, it wasn't good. I'm sad because it's not very good. But then I said, no, why? And then I searched why. I searched in the internet. I said, okay. And then I find through that work, there was a lot of symbolisms that they had to do about activism, and a lot of things that had to do with personal life, and a lot of things about this and that. And I said, so many things are there in an art piece that can tell you, okay, this can be an activism if you see it that way. This can be a personal story if you see it. That can be a romantic moment if you see it in this way. So many options. And then I was feeling sad because I didn't see it in the first hand. Like I didn't saw it like this in my very first connection with it.
I
You know?
understand. Yeah.
And I think like this is the way that we should go to the theater to watch cinema, dance piece, even music, you know, like open your heart and grasp what it is there for you. Activism is there, a romantic moment is there, love, hate, everything is there. And I think this is the way, at least for now, me and Danae, we want to have it. Like an open space for people to grasp things and go home and either be like, oh, why this? Or be relaxed, you know, like give them peace. So this is the way I see it now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the openness.
Yeah.
I guess all art can be activistic if it moves you
Yeah.
inside. It can
Yeah.
change you, and that can lead to an effect in the outer world.
Yeah, I don't remember who had said that. Maybe you can remind us.
Yes.
But there was somebody that had said that if somebody comes to the theater and they are relaxed, I want them to leave and feel nervous. If somebody comes to the theater and they are like they have anxiety or they are nervous or their energy is not calm, I want them to leave and be completely relaxed. So ideally, this is what we would like to have, you know, to just change something there. But when I think of activism, I think of all these people that they have acted. And I cannot say, like, it would be unfair to say that I see myself in the same position as them.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
Because also, and Kawa himself, like he was an environmental activist, but he had actions, as in dismantling these illegal fishing nets. But do you get a sense of activism in his poems as well?
Yeah.
Or is it a more silent activism, perhaps there, or?
I think because of the place that he was living and the situation there, for him there was no other way as well. Like there had to be activism in his art, because you mentioned, you know, the political situation in Tibet is a very specific one, and people try to help each other up, and art is the only way that they can do that, because it's the only way that can be interpreted somehow differently. So if you are in Tibet and you are an activist, most probably you will end up in jail. So this is their only way to be activists. So this is inevitable somehow.
Can I add something to this?
Of course.
This is the magic also about art. You know, an artist has a thought, creates something, puts it out. Sometimes it's not conscious what the artist is, what the artist's work is receiving. Like, for example, we can say, I think we can think of some types of work of art that they went out and then it became an activistic art.
Yeah.
Yes, but the person who created it said, no, I didn't want it to look like that. Yes. For now it comes to my mind the book of Siegel, Jonathan. Jonathan, maybe in English. Jonathan, we say. And the creator, when he wrote this book, he didn't knew that it will go like this. So this is what we are doing. We are not the gods. We are creating something, and it's going to go in the stage, and the audience is gonna add what it is remaining there. You know, we can never create 100%. I don't know what we will create. We will create 60, 70, 80%, but we will never create 100%. Nobody creates 100%. The other 100% is from the audience. So it's an energy that is shared. And then, you know, maybe we'll create a work, and then people say, oh, it's activism.
We will see.
We'll say, I don't know.
Yeah, we will see what the audience
I don't know
says.
what it will say to their hearts, you know.
Yeah.
And also with dance, this format is a little bit difficult to see it in this way, because there's not much text. You know, it's difficult, you know, to find a direct feeling about some things, but you never know. You know?
Yeah.
But I can imagine you don't want people to come into the theater and look for that. Like you want them just to have the experience and be as open-minded as they can. And then whatever is evoked can come.
So we will see how In Winter Dust will be received by the audience.
Yes.
I will follow some voices.
The world will be a better place.
Yeah. I feel like we could go on and talk for like ever, or I have many questions left, but I
No.
think we also have to wrap it up a little bit.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you
Thank you.
so much.
Thank you so much for
thanks a lot.
coming. Yeah.
Thanks
It
a
was
lot
a
for
lot of
having
fun.
us.
Yeah.
Yes, and thanks for the audience again
Yeah.
to take this time with us and sharing all this information about the work.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes.
And come and see in Winter Dust.
29th of February, we have our premiere
Yes, the premiere. Yeah.
here at SDD.
Yes.
Nice.
Okay. So.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much. Thanks a
Bye.
lot. Thanks a lot.